Only mode.
Greetings everyone, and thank you for attending this afternoon's Interfraternity Council Parents webinar. Today we will be discussing a variety of things concerning how your son, your student here at Vanderbilt University, can join a fraternity here, as well as the new member education process and a variety of things so that you may be able to support your student at Vanderbilt throughout their entire joining process. We'll be opening up through terminology, the IFC community, recruitment, financial commitment, the number of education, maybe some hazing concerns that people might have, benefits of joining, takeaways, and then we'll open it up hopefully with enough time to discuss the any questions people might have. If you have any questions, feel free to type them in that box on your right-hand side of the screen. The organizers of the event will pass those questions on to our question answerer as well as myself, and we'll hopefully get as many of questions and any curious things you might have to say answered as fast and quickly as possible. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and jump right in. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is James Crawford. I work directly here in the Office of Greek Life here at Vanderbilt University, specifically with our Interfraternity Council, or our IFC. I advise that governing body that discusses accountability processes, strategic plans, etc., with the IFC community here at Vanderbilt, the 14 fraternities that we'll list in a little bit. Sharing the screen with me today will also be the Director of Greek Life, Kristin Torrey, and our other coordinator of Greek Life, Anthony Williams. So we'll get started. To kind of touch point on a few things, regardless if you're very adept with the fraternity sorority experience here at Vanderbilt or across the country, or maybe you have a first-generation student, we wanted to kind of get some terminology out of the way so that people could feel a little bit more comfortable with the conversation. So IFC is the executive board, like I mentioned, that governs the IFC fraternity community. We have 14 organizations here on campus that are chapters, like extensions or subsidiaries of an international or national fraternity that are located here on campus. A PNM, or a potential new member, PNM is just abbreviation for that. That's the individuals that fall within the expression of interest. So if I say PNM, that's somebody that is interested in joining a fraternity and is actively seeking membership in the organization. Recruitment, also known as Rush, people will discuss a variety of different things concerning its Rush, frat Rush, or things like that. Formalized terminology is recruitment. It's time when a potential new member and a chapter both interact with each other through a mutual selection process. Your potential new member, your student, is looking at hopefully all of the organizations, all 14, as a potential option for themselves, and then the chapter are reviewing all of the membership opportunities and experiences they could provide for those people. New member education is also known as pledging in some terms. You'll see that in a lot of like news articles and things like that, but it's the educational process in which a new member learns the history, values, expectations, etc. of joining the organization. And deferred joining is a process that we currently have here at Vanderbilt University, where if you look at some of our SEC counterparts or other institutions across the country, some of them may have an expanded fraternity recruitment process that happens almost either immediately or pretty close to immediately after your first year students move in, where they're eligible to join. They go through an educational process, whether it's like a week or 2 weeks, to an 8-week process, and they join and go through specific to those organizations. Here at Vanderbilt, we have a deferred joining process. So your potential new member, your student, gets a chance to interact with a variety of students on their floor, on their hall as a first-year student, and join in the spring semester, so that way they can get an understanding about what college is like, what academic experiences are needed for them, like what does studying look like, how do they manage their time and organization well as how do they engage within the community of Vanderbilt through a lot of leadership opportunities and experiences that are within their fraternity or not. And so we have a very good balance where students get a chance to kind of interact with a variety of people and join towards that fall semester for your sophomores, juniors, seniors, transfer students, etc., and then our first-year students, which is typically where a lot of our students go through in their second semester of their first year. So our current community size is listed on the screen. You have these 14 organizations. Their asterisk is listed right there because Pi Kappa Alpha, also known as Pike, is returning in the spring 2015 semester. So this upcoming spring. They could be interacting with your student through the various events that we've had here on campus. They're full-scale community-based events where all of our fraternities and sororities attend, where they've got a names list of those that might be interested in starting a fraternity. They are returning back to our campus, and then within the next few years we'll have other organizations returning back to campus that are looking for founding members, etc. On the bottom left-hand side of your screen, you'll be able to see our average chapter size is 77.5, average GPA is at 3.43, average all-men's GPA is at 3.37, and then all undergraduate GPA is a 3.43. That's including our students that identify as male, students identify as female demographic right there. So that allows for us to be able to kind of express that while it's a 0.06 increase, with regards to those GPA requirements, organizations do take academics to a very high standard and ability, and that is expressed through the eligibility requirements for recruitment in itself, that there is an eligibility requirement for GPA that potential new members need to meet, and we'll discuss that further. So your average timeline for your Vanderbilt experience here, we have a Greek Life Information Fair that's held near the Commons on one of the grassy areas near the Commons Center, where a lot of first-year students live. For them, it's everyone. Any of our NPHC, our historically African American fraternities and sororities, our IFC, Interfraternity Council, fraternities that align with them that were originally founded with a historically Caucasian background, but have since, as times have evolved, to where both organizations, NPHC and IFC and Panhellenic, which is our Panhellenic sororities, all of them accept members of all various backgrounds. But that's kind of the historical demographic to give you some context. That information fair has every one of our fraternities and sororities that work directly with our office of Greek Life here, where they have a table and they interact with first-year students. First-year students use their Vanderbilt ID and swipe in, as well as write down their names on any organizations if they collect that information for our IFC organizations. Our upperclassmen and transfer student info session. So we had some data with regards to recruitment surveys over the past couple of years that first-year students, they get a degree of support within this whole fall semester, but what about our transfers? What about our upperclassmen? And so our recruitment chair held a interest session at the beginning of August for our students as soon as they came back. They moved in, and a couple of days later there was an upperclassman and transfer student session to help them get an understanding about going through the process because of their eligibility being this fall to join. Open Doors is a play on words for us with regards to the fraternities that are housed and unhoused here at Vanderbilt, and how they will be going around from door to door, so to speak, to get an understanding about what makes each organization different, interacting with each member. The idea is for them to continue to have these opportunities to establish relationships with people so that they can invite them to the various recruitment events that the fraternities will hold. Checkpoints 1 and then 2 and 3 listed below are ways in which we want to make sure that your student gets a chance to ask questions about the process, that if maybe they weren't interested in joining until October 8th, well, then they have a chance to come in and not only register for recruitment, which is a huge registration database system that all of the fraternity members have emails and phone numbers and names to, so they can communicate with them and ask them to attend events, but it also gives us a chance to have a conversation with your student about varying issues and trends that might face a college student, period. Mental health and wellness, and how they can manage stress and anxiety well. What it means to be a responsible citizen, and civility conversation, so that they understand that they are being held to a high expectation and standard as a member in the community. Various conversations like that they already get, hopefully, in a variety of levels even before they came to school here, but we like to just make sure that they have a solid foundation of expectations. Throughout the fall semester, your student could be discussing that they are interested in a variety of fraternities, and they're going to a basketball tournament or a cookout, or going to laser tag, or the Nashville Predators hockey game, things like that. It's opportunities for them to interact with fraternity members to see what they're all about. If any events that we interact with them at, we tell them, treat your experience almost as if you're going to Best Buy to buy a TV. It sounds kind of silly, but each TV for each person's home works differently for them, and that experience in itself you only know what you're looking for within your organization. Ask them what they care about. What do they value? How do they interact with their headquarters? Do they have any alumni? Do you feel like you could be friends with these people? Do you feel like you can interact with them? And those are some of the coaching conversations that we have with the potential new members, and a variety of those conversations at checkpoints or at the info fair. Final rounds is an event for, it's in January, as you can tell, on January 9th, and that is held for all of the potential new members that are joining in the spring semester, for them to go around and kind of almost do Open Doors 2.0 to interact with more chapters to kind of help them make their decision. They usually take this decision very, very to heart, very seriously, and they will potentially have 1 to 14 offers to join a fraternity, and so making that decision can be tough. And we saw that having that extra day for them to discuss that is beneficial for their stress management and their process. Bid day being January 10th. The next day, so we'll take a documentation, we'll take the registration system, the selections that a potential new member makes, and we'll throw that into a computer management system that many campuses across the country use, and they make a matching selection. So if your student will list the organizations that they're interested in, and the chapters list the members that they're interested in, and it's a mutual matching, mutual selection process for them both to have an option to say, I'm interested in joining this one, I'm interested in joining this one, I would like to have this person, I would like to have this person. Bid day is a formal kind of ceremony where they receive a card that extends an invitation to join and become a member and go through the new member education process, as mentioned before, about the history and things like that. It's also a formalized moment for us to kind of celebrate this pretty cool moment in a young man's life where he gets to associate with friends and peers and began his process here at Vanderbilt University. Recruitment eligibility requirements, and I'm sure that you may have seen these before, and if not, that we have, as an IFC, a very high standard of expectation for people. Rightfully so. People come here for an education, and so as that #1 bullet point right there is a minimum 2.5 GPA. People come to Vanderbilt because it's a highly academic, prestigious institution, and we're not doing our part as a fraternity without helping people achieve such goals. Conduct violations are currently on disciplinary status. Those individuals need to have not been found in violation of any disciplinary things within our Student Accountability Office. Such of an experience, we want people to know that there's a higher standard of expectation of behavior and being a civil individual. Completion of online registration. They need to complete the online registration form that allows for us to have the experience of you need to check your conduct and your grades. Grades will also coincide with the 2.5 GPA, but as well as that you need to be currently taking at least 12 hours of academic credits. So the following thing is the 3 hours of community service. Our organizations, as well as our IFC, are going to host throughout the fall semester a variety of community service experiences. Community service is a foundational tenet of fraternities and sororities here at Vanderbilt as well as across the country, and it's important for people to know on the front end that it's an expectation that you perform community service to maintain your eligibility of membership. Additional expectations: no alcohol or drug use in this process. That's pretty self-explanatory. People shouldn't be joining because of those reasons. They should be joining for reasons of connectivity with these individuals, and that the organization means something to them, and various experiences like that. A reasonable effort to get to know the men in the chapter that he is interested in. The expectation is that he emails the recruitment chair, and their contact information is found on our website. Or the president, or they can email me a specific question about a particular chapter and I can direct them to the right person and connect them that way, or they can email the IFC executive board members and they can direct them as well. The expectation is for students to attend class. I know that sounds kind of silly for me to say that, but there's no, oh, I can't go to class today because I need to go to this fraternity grill cookout thing that is happening. I can't go to lab because of this, or I can't go to this or that. Even the checkpoints we mentioned in a previous slide, students should be attending their academic responsibilities. Like I said, that's what they're here for. So hopefully your student is attending all classes, right? That they're getting their money's worth in this Vanderbilt education, and so we encourage them to do that. The big one for me is why they're joining. They should know that. So a fantastic talking point that you should have with your student whenever you touch base with them is, oh, you're interested in going through fraternity recruitment, or you're joining a fraternity, or you're currently rushing, is what they might say. Why? Why are you interested? Why are you looking to join? Why this fraternity? Why not the other fraternities? And that allows for you to have a talking point to see what level of research has your student done about these fraternities or sororities. An open mind concerning the chapters. There's some aspect of students kind of thinking, well, like all the cool guys join this one, or all the jocks join this one, or all the engineers join this one. Our organizations are open to any major, any racial, ethnicity, sexual orientation, religious affiliation, whatever it might be. Our organizations are actively recruiting and expressing an opportunity for people to be as inclusive and accepting as possible. So if your student's like, well, I don't want to join this fraternity because they don't like engineers or whatever it might be sure to remind them, if you can, that they should be open-minded, and the organizations are expressing open-mindedness constantly. Financial commitment. The organizations charge a variety of funds and fees, and that's from an national headquarters that manages those organizations, so insurance, one-time registration fees, registering them through the service within the organization, paying for new member education materials and activities, international fees, like I said, billing, chapter operations, how to afford various events, a community service event, or transportation for another event. How can they afford it? Many chapters operate with a payment plan structure to allow for and accommodate for that experience. It's a hefty fee, and so they are very open-minded and willing. Additionally, there's a variety of scholarships that chapters provide. Their headquarters will also provide, as well as the IFC Executive Board holds anywhere between 9 to 10 due scholarships to help defer some of the costs a semester. So that's about 20 people each semester where they get a chance to apply, and all it is just like an online anchor link application. So we're going to transition into new member education. So your son goes through the process and gets a bid on January 10th. This is a 6-week educational experience from January 10th, where initiation weekend is the 20th to 22nd. That is a hard, fast rule. If your student has already received a bid, and they're not a sophomore or above or a transfer student, then that's a conversation that you and I can have at a later date about the processes that aren't being adhered to by IFC Exec. Additionally, with that being said, February 20th to 22nd is when initiation activities could be occurring. Typically, your organization has anywhere between maybe 1 to 4 hours of a ritualistic experience that is binding them to the organization, as well as across all generations of members of this organization. It's a shared experience. Time management through member education is typically a big concern, managing all of the responsibilities of trying to memorize all of the history of the organization while also maintaining good grades, maintaining friendships, making sure that they're calling you and saying hi, calling home, those kind of things are all very important. And so we stress that academics are a very high priority. A lot of organizations, if not all of them, maintain a consistent study hours for the new member to where they ensure that their academics don't go down at any point. Zero tolerance hazing policy, signs of hazing behavior, and how to report. Typically, across the country, as you can potentially tell, if you search fraternity, new member education, or hazing, or pledging, or things like that, you're going to see a lot of different articles that come up that can be, honestly, quite frankly, a little scary if considering that this is an experience that's going on. If your student's not getting enough sleep, then that is an area of concern regardless, right? But if they feel like they can't go to class, if they feel like they have to wear a certain type of clothing, if they have to carry a certain thing, if they have to go do scavenger hunts, or they feel like they have to do a particular thing, be engaged in their process. Ask them about it. Maybe even you can set up a time, just be like, hey, I'm really interested in learning about your fraternity more, because if you're helping them pay for it, or they're spending a lot of time in it, then that's a good entry-level point for you to kind of say, I'd like to know more about it. What are you doing this week? What kind of things are happening? What's your favorite thing about it? Are you getting enough sleep? Are you not getting enough sleep? You know your child better than any of us could. And so while we try to get as engaged in their life as possible, that's a fantastic point for you to have these conversations about what's occurring. We have a tolerance policy where people can report it through an online form on our website, as well as in the student accountability website. If you go to our website, vanderbilt.edu/Greek_life, and that link will be at the end of the slide, there's a tab that says anti-hazing resources. All kinds of information about things to be aware of, things to consider. There's a phone number to call, as well as an online form to complete. If you do call and leave something on the Hazing hotline phone number, please provide us details. There's no way that we can kind of curb this behavior and or try our best to eliminate it if people just call and say there's hazing happening in the Greek village. We need more details, like what time, what chapter, what anything. I understand that there's a respecting your students' experience so that they don't get in quote trouble, but we're ultimately here to. We have a responsibility as an office, as an institution, to make sure that your student is having a safe and healthy experience, and we need your help in that through your reporting. Benefits of joining. Now that I'm switching, right? From one conversation to another about things that might be kind of concerning or scary, but why? So what's the point? Why? Well, those things are few and far between, but here our organizations provide leadership experiences. Your child will be able to involve themselves in a new member education process as the new member president, or the person that's responsible for organizing the service trip or the philanthropic event that raises a whole lot of money for a cause that's in need, a nonprofit organization. Academic support, as mentioned in one of the earlier slides, our organizations pride themselves on having a substantial GPA requirement and standard. Community service and philanthropic opportunities. Not only the implementation and programming of those events can help your child through the development in a variety of levels, but having the opportunity to give back. That's something that a lot of our organizations were founded upon, with some tenet of service and philanthropy. They all have national or international philanthropies, like big causes like the Jimmy V Foundation or St. Jude's, Children's Miracle Network, things like that, ALS Foundation, all kinds of different things that contribute to this. Let's see, home away from home. The connectedness and network that our students typically provide. So whenever I have a large-scale event, like I mentioned earlier before, I typically ask, why are you interested in joining a fraternity? And one of the primary answers I get from a lot of people are, I'm looking for friends. I'm looking for home away from home. I'm looking for a network. I'm looking for, I want to be a part of a team. I want to be connected to people. And so we allow for a smaller experience to occur at Vanderbilt, because while there's only 6,000 students in comparison to some of our SEC counterparts, it can be a big place. It can be a big campus. People need resources available to them, and having these experiences, connectedness, someone to keep an eye on your child that is a peer of theirs that cares about them and engages in them, is something that our organizations can provide. Intramural sports, our students really enjoy engaging in intramural sports. Our alumni base and network. The Greek experience has been around since 1847 for our community, and so as you can tell, there's a substantial alumni base. Networking, how does that evolve? Well, if your student is looking for assistance with internships, then there's probably a good chance that someone in their organization has already held an internship that they can connect them to or advise them to or for or against, whatever it might be. Campus involvement equals positive college experience. The research and data that suggests is, the more that you put into your college experience, the more you get out of it. The more that you study, the better your grades are. The more that you get engaged, the more that you embrace being a Commodore and attending football games and attending educational events on the Commons, things like that, allow for your student to not only get their money's worth, so to speak, but also to cherish and develop memories within the campus, and our fraternities and sororities are a fine area for that. Takeaways from this experience: P&M should be meeting new members inside and outside of fraternities. This is meeting people, period. We usually have some people that are only interested in joining a fraternity and they don't want anything else. And I feel like that's not fully taking advantage of the fantastic opportunity that these 4 years can provide through personal development and growth, but as well as leadership development and growth. We have a lot of students that really believe in engaging in a variety of different organizations, and so making a lot of friends can help them overall have that connectedness, but they should be also engaging in a way with our organization so that they can get to know them to see if that's the right decision for them. Like I said, open-mindedness falls right into that. Joining for the right reasons. The reason that the IFC has a variety of checkpoints in place and a variety of requirements in place is that hopefully the theme that you can provide is, or that I can provide to you all today, is that academics are a priority. Having realistic expectations of what membership is a priority. Each organization has a higher level standard of expectations through that ritual experience that's afforded to them that their international and national organization holds them to, as well as our campus. So there's if it's being a scholar and a leader and a gentleman and things like that, that like each organization has a tenet for within their organization, it sets an expectation for membership. So within these checkpoints, we're trying to tell the potential new members, yes, you're interested in joining this, and there's a lot of things like Animal House or the new Neighbors movie that came out that might make this seem like a really, really wild and crazy time. And with that being said, we'd rather tell you on the front end so that you can't say, no one ever told me that I was going to have to do community service. No one ever told me that I needed to attend an event that is held by faculty or go to a chapter meeting every week to discuss various issues and strategic planning and implementation of various philanthropic efforts or things like that. So the idea is for these checkpoints and a variety of interactions with the fraternities and sororities for them to see that it's more than just the things that people see on media and movies. It's more than that, and hopefully that they can see that. For you all, as guardians, legal guardians of your child here at Vanderbilt, I'd love for you to keep an eye out for any type of behaviors and know who to contact about that. Within the website, our website, you have a form that you can complete. There's a phone number you can call. You can look at my name, James Crawford at Vanderbilt University, and email me. And we can work through, like, well, I think that this weird thing is my son said that he wasn't allowed to sit for 12 hours. Well, what is that? Or my son can't go to sleep during these hours because he needs to go drive people for this. Or he's not allowed to talk to people for a week. Or just like, if there's anything that seems out of character for your child, let us know. You know them better than we do, like I said. And so if you're engaged in their process overall at Vanderbilt, then there's some things that the big takeaway is that some people sometimes chalk up to being like, oh, well, that's just like what it means to be Greek, or that's just part of it. And there's some things that it's just not. Boys will be boys, and that's not just part of it. And that's where we could potentially need your help in eradicating some unhealthy behaviors. Understanding why your student is joining a fraternity, and if it's worth the time and money. Like I said, there's an academic requirement. There's a service requirement. There's a variety of requirements that are on a continual basis. And so some students may not be interested in those things, and that's okay. Like there's always a home for them everywhere here at Vanderbilt. There's over 500 student organizations, and so it's important for people to know on the front end before they spend the time, before they spend the money, before they go through all this effort to join, that they know that they're held to a higher standard. And so by asking them, why are you joining? Why this fraternity? Why not the other ones? Why are you interested in even being Greek? You know, what benefits does it provide? And it allows for you not only to have a touch point in conversation with them to discuss various issues they might be facing, but it also kind of allows for them to kind of have this internal reflection of, why am I joining? Why am I doing this? Why is this important for me? Because sometimes our students don't think about that. They're just interested in like the here and the now. You know, we joke around that sometimes they live their lives in dog years. Like each day is 7 years of their life. It's like, it's very important. And so we try to support them through that by asking them, why are you joining? Here's some of the resources like I mentioned before. Vanderbilt Greek Life website, vanderbilt.edu/Greek_life. And this PowerPoint slide will be posted directly to as well as this presentation will be posted to the Parents and Family Programs website, as well as we'll have a link on our website in case I missed something or went too quickly or anything like that, and we'll be able to address any kind of concerns. 615-343-STOP. 7867 is the actual numbers for that one. That's the Hazing hotline. It may not directly open to someone may not directly answer that phone when it's not Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to like 5 p.m. But you can leave a voicemail, and we will have someone follow up with you because we have a staff member in the Office of Student Accountability checking that on a consistent basis. The Hazing reporting form is there. This link is located right here, but it's also on the tab on our website of anti-hazing resources. And that form is an online form. You don't have to be a Vanderbilt student to fill it out, but as much details as you can provide on either of those experiences are openly welcome. Our students also can access that website for any kind of details or information, whether it's what's the contact information for the president or the vice president, or I'm interested in joining, how do I join? We have a tab for that that says, how do I join? Honestly, you could also look through that and look at the resources that we have available on the right-hand side. You can see the Greek Life calendar to see any events that organizations have listed with us that are holding parents and family programs events during the weekend, the Parents and Family Week or homecoming or any type of calendar-based event. Our calendar is right there on the home page. We also have a listing of the academic profiles and reports. So if you're interested in wanting to know more about the specific organization that your child is trying to join, you can click the academic and membership profile report, and you can see the number of people that they have within the spring 2014 semester join, what their average GPA was. How does that rank in comparison to all the other fraternities and sororities on campus? How does that rank into consideration with all of the people that identify as male or female on campus? So it allows for you to kind of have that resource available as well. Our annual report as an office is also listed as a PDF file on that page on the right-hand side of that website. So that allows for you to kind of experience the all of the 2013-2014 academic year, whether it's the thousands of hours that our students put in for community service that we've tracked and documented, or the awards that they've been eligible for, like really cool things that our community have created or done in the past year, as well as all kinds of other information. So as of right now, we'll be opening up for questions.
Okay, James, I'm going to answer some of the questions that have been coming in throughout the webinar, some of whom I've answered privately, but may be relevant to the group. The first question was, do a lot of students not get into an accepted fraternity even if they want to join one, and how does that affect the students socially within the Vanderbilt community? And James touched on that a little earlier about the involvement, the importance of keeping an open mind throughout the recruitment process. Yes, there are students that want to be in a fraternity that do not ultimately end up joining one. But students who, for the most part, keep an open mind, meaning that they consider membership in more than one organization. They make sure that they are eligible for recruitment, meaning that they have gotten good grades, that they've stayed out of trouble, all of those kinds.
Okay, so I was asked to go back to the slide that involved the all the fraternities. I believe it is as up to date as possible, but we may. Yes. Okay. So Sigma Alpha Epsilon, otherwise known as SAE, is listed in this organization sheet, or should be, but they're not. So I'll change that real quick. I apologize for the inconvenience. So this lists our 14 IFC organizations. It does not list our MPHC organizations due to this being an IFC webinar, but their information can also be found online at the membership and academic rankings sheet on our website.
Okay, I'm going to finish answering the questions that were asked to me. I'm going to finish answering the questions that were asked to me. Sorry, we're having a couple technological difficulties, everyone, related to students that may not be able to join. And so there are students that find themselves participating in fraternity recruitment in the fall, but then ultimately find a different place on campus where they find their most important community. And so for some students that don't end up joining, it's because they have made the choice to say, I am choosing to be involved in something else. So certainly there are many, many communities and ways to be involved on campus, and I think that James did a good job talking earlier about some of those options. And if that's a specific concern, we are happy to talk to students individually to make sure that they find their place within the Vanderbilt community. The 3-hour community service requirement is to be completed during the fall semester, and there are opportunities with fraternities throughout the fall for them to be meeting that requirement. Then there was a question about how to register online. We'll make sure that we include the specific link from our website to that online in the webinar, but it's just on our website, which is included in the webinar. Why don't SAE and ZBT have a 6-week new member period? SAE and ZBT have shorter new member education periods because they're national organizations. Direct that initiation occur within 72 to 96 hours, and they spend a longer period of time on comprehensive member development throughout their entire college career. This is a new change for SAE this year that has been enacted across the country, but it has been in place with ZBT for a while. Then there was a question, can students join professional fraternity or sororities, engineering, nursing, etc., or the honoraries in addition to joining an IFC group? Yes, in most cases we have students who have dual membership in both kinds of groups. There are some times where the national organization for the professional or honorary may have restrictions about timing, meaning that students are not joining an IFC and an honorary during the same semester. But for the most part, this is not a problem, and we definitely have people who are part of both. There was a question, are there any adult chaperones at fraternity parties to help enforce drug and alcohol policies? At our registered fraternity parties, there are third-party security officers that work the door to check IDs and provide wristbands to those students that are of legal drinking age. We also have third-party bartenders that manage the distribution of beer that individuals have brought to the party. And we have community policing where the same 2 officers work in the Greek area on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights from 6 p.m. until 4 in the morning. So the students have a good relationship with those men, and they go through the parties as well. So while no, we don't have chaperones, yes, there are people who are trying to make sure that we are in compliance with the expectations. So question, who lives in the fraternity houses? We only have 6 men who live in each chapter house. They're usually junior and senior chapter officers. The next question was, are fraternity parties open to students who are not members of the fraternity? Yes, fraternity parties are open to others, but the fraternity set a guest list for who can attend. The next question was, please explain what happens at a checkpoint, and I think that James has already answered that question, but each of the checkpoints has a different theme, and there are upper class students from the IFC that speak at the checkpoint talking about different obligations for membership, as well as what they can expect from fraternity, as well as the participants in the checkpoint fill out a form to indicate where they are presently interested in joining. Okay, then the next question was, fall is for potential new members to gather information when they return to school on January 5th. Are there various things going on that week, or just the open round on the 9th? We really just only have the open round on the 9th. The majority of our students have it narrowed down to between 1 and 2, maybe 3 chapters when they return in January. And so they have done a lot of that research and decision making throughout the fall, but the January 9th open round is really for them to make those final decisions. Next question was, how is the use of alcohol by underage members monitored and enforced? I covered that during the comment about the fraternity parties. The students are expected to, whether it's at a registered fraternity party or on a Tuesday, they are expected to comply with the university and interfraternity council alcohol policy. If they are not found in compliance with that, the interfraternity council has a self-governing board of which 3 students adjudicate those cases, and chapters are held accountable for that, as well as individual students are held accountable through the Office of Student Accountability, Community Standards, and Academic Integrity. There was another question about community service. Does the 3-hour community service requirement need to occur before January 9th? Yes. How do students know about the community service opportunities for the fall? Those are also announced at the checkpoints, as well as information they receive from individual chapters and from the IFC throughout the week. The next question was, how does legacy factor into recruitment? The legacies, for those that are unfamiliar, are men who their father, brother, grandfather, and sometimes uncles or stepfathers, stepbrothers, etc., are members of a specific fraternity. They are then considered a legacy to that organization. And I would say that it can have an impact at Vanderbilt, but for the most part, our students care a great deal about their interaction with someone throughout the fall semester than they do about a legacy status or a letter of recommendation. So I think that I would recommend that the student communicate that they are in fact a legacy. There is some sort of history with their chapter, but really our men tend to make decisions based on their interactions, not just on a legacy factor. Okay, that is all of the questions that have come in so far. So I guess if anyone else has any others, if you would send those in at this time so that we can answer them to the group, that would be great. No, kids do not have to return to school early from the winter break to accommodate the recruitment process. I would say, related to the letter, now we've had another question about do you recommend letters of recommendation? Like I said, I think that their interactions with the men throughout the fall semester, being involved in other student organizations, all those kind of things are more important than letters of recommendation, but the letters can serve as a helpful way to introduce the potential new member to the chapter, to say, be on the lookout for this person. Okay, next question. What is the estimated weekly time commitment a member should anticipate? During new member education, I would expect them to, I would relate it to that of a class. They will have 3 hours of study hall on most weeknights, and then they will also have a variety of other activities they would participate in, new member meetings, chapter meetings, community service projects, educational programs, social events, those kind of things. And so I would compare it to that of taking another class during the spring semester. Like most things, you're going to get out of fraternity what you put into it, and so for some of our students, they might spend 30 or 40 hours a week on their fraternity if they're the chapter president, because they spend lots of time managing the other members and planning events and those kind of things. But there are, for some of our students, being in a fraternity is only one of the ways in which they're involved on campus. And I'll take as an example right now, the student government president is a member of a fraternity. And we have students who are involved in VUSEPT and Dance Marathon and Alternative Spring Break and many other things that would take their time away from involvement in the fraternity. And I think that's one of the great things about our community, that students can choose to be involved in a variety of different things. And their membership in the fraternity can be something that they choose to spend lots of time on. It can also be something that they choose to be a member of the fraternity, but instead be the editor of the Hustler, our student newspaper. The next question is, how are P&Ms informed of their acceptance into a fraternity? During the spring, they would come to fraternity bid night, and that's where they would receive their actual bid. But during the fall semester, there are times where if a fraternity is no longer considering him, then they would be notified really kind of throughout the fall that they were no longer being considered and that they should be exploring options elsewhere. So that's not necessarily answering your question about when they're informed of when they are given a bid, but that is an important, I think, element of something that happens in the fall. But during the spring, they would be notified when they come to IFC bid night which invitation that they had been given. That would relate to where they went the night before on the 9th that we talked about earlier. Okay. Well, those seem to be all the questions that we have had. We'd like to thank you for participating in the webinar today. Like James said, the webinar will be available online, as well as there's a number of resources on our website that can help you as a parent. Our office is here to help you and your student in any way that we can related to the recruitment process, to the new member education process, or any time throughout their time at Vanderbilt. So please let us know if you have any other questions, comments, or concerns, and we would be happy to take those. Thank you very much.